Thank you, Tamaika, for those wonderful, kind words. Mrs. Lantos, it's a great pleasure to meet you from this distance. Honorable representatives, and of course the Lantos family, it is an honor and a pleasure to be here. It is also an honor and a pleasure to be with Irshad Manji and Rabia Kadir. I met Rabia last night, and I was moved, and I was in a way kept awake by this passion and this bravery and this relentlessness of that tiny woman up against giant China. And I am optimistic that she and her morals and her ideas and her perspective will prevail. I also celebrate my friend Irshad Manji and her Moral Courage Award. And again, when I look into the darkness of the type of challenge that we are now facing, committed in the name of the religion that I grew up in, it is Irshad and thousands like her who are born into Muslim households and who grow up in Muslim households that give me the courage and the encouragement to go on. I have this predicament where I have to explain over and over again that we should not condemn Muslims. We must not condemn Muslims, because Muslims are fellow human beings, just like us, and have the same rights and the same freedoms. There are millions of Muslims who are moved every day by their sense of dignity, their sense of decency, their sense of integrity, like Irshad and like Rabia, but there are many more who, within their households and within their communities, stand up for their conscience against deeply held and very old traditions. The people they stand up to, I call them the Medina Muslims. The people that they stand up to are people who take the Quran, which they believe to be the true word of God, and the example of the Prophet Muhammad, and develop a narrative of nothing less than fascism. It is how they read that document and how they look at that icon, the Prophet Muhammad, that they not only keep to themselves, but want to impose on members of their families, members of their communities, their countries, and the world at large. I met Tom Lantos once, briefly. A deep man. He talked to me about the Second World War. He asked me to go to the Holocaust Museum here in Washington, D.C. And like my professors back in the University of Leiden, he made me understand that every age has its fascism. Every age has its totalitarian movement. Like Irshad, I am embarrassed every day because it is now emerging out of the religion that I was born into. And when 9/11 happened, when people who had the same faith as mine hijacked airplanes and killed innocent people and plunged the world into war, the first thing I needed to do was ask myself if I shared those beliefs. And I think for each of us, Muslim or non-Muslim, like Congressman Lantos, we have to have that conversation with our conscience. And having that conversation with my conscience pushed me into this terrible dissonance where I had to choose literally between what my God said, the holy book that I believed in, and the man I was taught was human perfection, the Prophet Muhammad, versus what my conscience was telling me. And what I found out when I started as an adult, 30-year-old adult, rereading the Quran, reading the Hadith or the Sunnah, the example of the Prophet Muhammad, and his biography, what I found there was disturbing. I was alarmed by it. And I couldn't do anything other than reject. And like Irshad says in the video, it is then, when I rejected that I stopped fearing death. Because before that, I realized that I had accepted all of this because I was afraid that once I die, I would be put in hell. But once you shed that fear of being burned in hell, and you are able to think clearly, then you will be able to reflect on some of the bad things, some of the horrible things in your holy book and your holy icon. And I am optimistic. I don't think we can bomb bad ideas out of people's heads. I think we're going to waste resources if we apply only surveillance as a counterterrorism method. I think the challenge of our time is to persuade as many Muslims as possible to reflect on that conversation between your own conscience and what the Holy Book tells you. That is the only way we can ultimately defeat the narrative of the Islamic extremists. I want to really thank you so much for giving us, all three of us, this platform, for keeping Congressman Lantos' legacy alive and sharing it with the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we face a huge challenge, and political correctness, denial, surveillance, military means, it's not going to get us out. Appeasement is not going to get us out. We have to have a clear-headed confrontation with evil, because if we fail to recognize evil, we'll never be able to defeat it. Thank you.